Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana, or extended hand to big toe pose. It's a really beautiful posture from the standing sequence of the primary series in Ashtanga yoga, and it really helps to train your balance and strengthen the muscles, the stabilizing muscles in your legs. It also helps to stretch the hamstrings and open the hips. So there's a lot of things going on in this posture, and I wanted to break it down into a few different variations so that beginners have a way to build up to the full posture. And then I'm also going to give more advanced students some tips on how you could deepen your experience of the posture. For a beginner student, I would focus mostly on the balancing aspect of the posture initially. So let's have a look at what that might look like. We're going to start by shifting the weight from being equal in the pelvis to over onto the left leg. So you can practice that on both sides. So go to the left and then go to the right, trying to keep the pelvis neutral, as in one hip does not hike up, they stay neutral, but the center of gravity shifts from the center over to the side. And then keep your center of gravity on the left side, left hand to the waist, and then as you inhale, draw your right knee up towards your chest. Now it might not come all the way up to the chest, but bring it as high as you can whilst keeping the standing leg straight. So one compensation that we can make here is if we have a lot of tightness in the fronts of the hips, as we bring the leg, we might be tempted to bend this knee. I want you to try and train yourself to keep that leg nice and straight. So that means pressing down through the floor, engaging the quadriceps, the muscles at the front of the thighs, and only going as far as you can go with that leg straight. I also like to give a little bit of tension in the glutes on the left side so that I'm fully extending the hip. Okay, so once you've done 5 breaths here, then we're going to exhale and take the knee out to the side, just as wide as you can go without hiking your hip. This is going to be a common compensation. So try to keep the hips, the pelvis level, and then gaze over your left shoulder. So here we're testing our balance by changing the position of the gaze. And then after 5 breaths there, inhale, bring the leg back to center. Exhaling, take your hands to your hips, and then point your toe and hover the leg as high as you can with the pelvis level. We're going to hold it here for 5, 4, keep the standing leg straight, 3, 2, 1. And release, shake off any tension in the hips, and let's change sides. Hopefully what you're feeling is a lot of stuff happening in the hips of the standing leg, in the hip of the standing leg. That's a really good sign that all of those stabilizing muscles are being worked. So let's look for the same sensation on the other side. Shifting your center of gravity to the right, make sure that leg is strong and straight. Inhale to draw the knee to the chest and hold it here for 5 breaths. Remember, this leg stays straight. A little bit of tension in the glute, the muscles at the back of that right hip, making sure that this is as extended as it can be. And then exhaling, take your knee out to the side, looking over your right shoulder. Hopefully you could feel a little bit of a stretch on the inner thigh on that left side. Inhaling to bring the leg back to center. Exhaling, hands to hips, and point the toe, hovering here. 1, engage the glute on the right side and straighten the leg. 3, 4, 5, and release. If this posture is still quite new to you, then I would stick with that version for a few weeks until you start to feel the strength and the balance happening in the hips and in the legs, and then move on to this next version that I'm going to show you now. In this version, we're going to switch from holding the knee to holding the big toe. So come and practice with me, standing with the center of gravity central, and then making sure that you're connected to the bandhas. So making sure that the lower belly is quite engaged and the pelvic floor feels like it has a natural lift. And then shifting your weight into your left leg, keep that leg straight and strong. Inhale to bring the knee up to the chest. So we're starting off in the same position, But then we're going to catch the big toe here. And now you might stay here with the knee still close into the chest for a little while longer, and that's fine. But if you feel like you have the flexibility, maybe give this a go. Start to extend the leg. So at first, maybe you keep a bend in the knee, but eventually the leg goes all the way to straight. I'm trying to keep my standing leg as straight as possible. So don't go further than you can keep that standing leg straight. Holding it here for 5. Breathing is key. You want to tell your nervous system that it's okay to soften into the pose. And then on the exhale, we're going to start to take the foot out to the side. So if your knee is bent, it's going to look like this. If your leg is a bit straighter, it's going to look like this. And again, we want to watch out for that hip hike. So don't be tempted to lift the hip just to go wider. Keep the pelvis neutral. Maybe bring the foot a bit more narrow if you need. And then after 5 breaths, we inhale back to center. Exhale, hands to the hips, point the toe. And again, it's the same, hovering for 5 breaths. Exhale to bring the leg down. Whew. And again, all of my muscles around the outside of this hip, glute medius and TFL, all of those muscles are feeling like they're working really hard. That's a really good sign. Let's switch to the other side. Okay, so my lower belly is nice and strong. Shifting the weight into the right leg, keeping the leg straight as I inhale to draw the knee up to the chest, hand on the waist. And then if possible, catching the big toe. Make sure the spine is long. And then if you have the flexibility, just reaching out through the heel as far as you can. Maybe you stop with the extended leg slightly bent, or maybe you can go all the way to straight. Holding it for 5. Still straight in the standing leg. And then exhaling to take the leg out to the side. Looking right. Watch out for the hip hike on the left hip. Inhaling to come back to center. Exhale, release, and hover. Again, 5 on this side. Keeping the standing leg straight and feeling that this thigh bone is almost reaching back in towards the socket as you lift it up. Another good option that you could use here is to try with a strap. So the way you would do this is hook the strap around the foot, hold it with just one hand. So we're starting in the same way, drawing the knee up, and then extend out through the leg. You can do the same out to the side, back to center, and then release to hover. I think I prefer personally just bending the knee as much as you need to catch the big toe. Partly because I find it a bit of a faff to arrange the strap, and I prefer to just be able to practice without a prop where possible. But also I think even if you need to bend this knee right in towards your chest, you're still training all of the same elements as you would be here. It's just that gradually you'll increase the hamstring stretch over time. So I don't feel that a strap is necessary, but if you find that it's really helpful, then you can try with a strap too. Now let's talk about the full expression of the posture. So in Ashtanga, we actually lift the leg and bow forwards for the first 5 breaths. And obviously this requires loads and loads of hamstring flexibility as well as strength and balance in the standing leg. So please don't worry if you're not there yet. Keep working at it either with the knee bent or just holding the knee to begin, and you'll be there in no time. If you feel like you're ready to take things further, then let's have a look. The first thing I'm going to challenge you to do, once you can catch the foot and extend the leg fully, is to actually come into the pose with a straight leg. So rather than bending the knee and then extending, I want to challenge you to lift the leg up and then catch the big toe. The reason I like to add in this challenge when coming into the pose is because it trains your mobility in the pose, because there's a key difference between being able to passively stretch out the hamstrings versus being able to actively pull yourself into the same position, into the same degree of flexibility, using the strength in your muscles. So it's a really good way to make sure that you're supporting the health of your joints. Let's have a go together. So what we would do is the same as always, shifting the weight into the left leg, pointing the toe, and then slowly with control, lifting the leg as high as you can. And maybe to begin, you only manage to get your foot to here. This is fine. So don't be put off just because you can't get the leg all the way up. Have a go, bring it as high as you can. Once you reach as high as you can and you feel like you can't lift anymore, simply bend the knee and then catch the big toe. So you're still getting to the same position as before, but you're giving yourself this active challenge. Lift the leg, bend the knee, catch the toe, and then extend. Okay. Eventually, you're going to work towards lifting the leg as high as possible, catching it with the leg straight, and then the next stage of the pose, as you exhale, lift the leg as high as you can and bow forwards for 5 breaths. Inhaling, come back up, keeping this leg straight. Exhale, take the leg to the side and look left. What you might have noticed when I'm doing this pose now is that I don't actually have my foot flexed. So when we first begin, we'll tend to keep the foot flexed because it keeps the toe closer to the body, so it's easier for us to reach. Once you feel you have a really good sense of balance here, start to reach out through the base or the ball of the foot. Same when you come out to the side. So instead of having the foot flexed, I'm reaching out through the base of the big toe and the ball of my foot. Okay, so that's tip number 1 or tip number 2 on how you can deepen your experience of the pose. Number 1 is to lift the leg up straight before you catch the big toe. Number 2 is to keep the foot flexed. Now number 3, we're going to do the full version where you fold forwards and lift the leg as high as you can. Okay, so inhaling, pointing the toe and lifting the leg up, catching the big toe, reaching out through the ball of the foot, and then as you exhale, lift the leg as high as you can and bow forwards, holding for 5, and then inhaling, coming back up, still reaching out through the ball of the foot, exhaling, the leg comes to the side, looking to the left for 5 breaths, keeping this leg straight and engaging the glute. Inhale, bring it back. Then here we're going to add in another fold. So exhaling, lift the leg, bow forwards, inhale, come back up, hands to the hips and hover. 2, 3, 4, 5, and release. Ready to do the other side? Okay, so strong lower belly, strong legs, shift the weight into the right foot. My glutes on the right side are active. As I inhale, I lift the straight leg, catch the big toe, and then stage 2 for working into the pose more, reach the big toe away. Stage 3, keeping this leg straight, if you can, lift the leg higher and bow forwards. 5 breaths, inhale, come back up, exhale, leg to the side, still reaching out through the ball of the foot as you look right. Inhaling back to center, keeping the leg straight. Exhaling to bow forwards and lift the leg. Inhale back up. Point the toe and hover for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Just to summarize those 3 different ways that you can work yourself a little bit harder in this posture. Number 1 is to find more mobility in the pose by actively lifting the straight leg up before you catch the big toe. That's going to really work the strength of your quads and your hips. Number 2 is instead of flexing your foot, try reaching out through the ball of your foot. And number 3 is if you have the flexibility and balance, lift the leg and bow forwards. 5 breaths at the beginning and then 1 breath at the end before you release your hands to the hips. I hope these tips are going to help support you in your Ashtanga yoga practice. If you practice them, let me know how you get on in the comments below. If you have any questions, as always, just leave them in the comments. I love hearing from you. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a big like, a thumbs up, and subscribe to my channel and click the bell to get notified whenever I post something new. If you have any requests for videos, tutorials, or anything that you'd like to see from my channel in future, then please just get in touch. Either leave me a comment below, or you could email me or hit me up on Instagram if you prefer. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.